All right, better late than never, I guess, with this 2-9 lesson, huh? Converting rational numbers, which a lot of this is stuff that most of you might be familiar with if you kind of thought about it a little. Put my foot up. So we're going to review this anyways. And again, guys, you can be using a calculator to help you out here. So I'm just going to open mine. Okay, so converting rational numbers. Okay, so just keep in mind that a rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. So that's whole numbers, decimals, repeating decimals, percentages, all sorts of different numbers. All right, so the first one here, when you're taking a fraction to a decimal, there are two ways you can look at that, and it depends on if you're using a calculator or if you are working by hand. So if you're working by hand and you're taking fractions to decimal, you're going to divide bottom out, which just means when you do the house, the bottom goes on the outside and the top goes on the inside. However, if you're using a calculator, that's a little bit different. You're just going to put right into your calculator, top piece, divide, bottom. So it depends on which way you're looking at it. When you're taking a fraction to a percentage, you are going to first convert it to a decimal and then convert it to a fraction. We'll look at some examples of that later. When you're taking decimals to percentages, we know that all decimals, sorry, just kidding. When you're taking decimals to percentages, all you need to do is multiply by 100, because that's the largest percent that you can have. And when you're multiplying by 100, you're really just moving that decimal 2 places to the right. So for example, if I had 0.25, that times 100 gives me 25%. To take a decimal to a fraction, you're going to write it how you say it. So when I'm talking about writing it how you say it, I'm talking about things like, are you saying tenths, hundredths, etc. So, for example, if you have this decimal that has 2 decimal points, so that's hundredths, so that's pronounced as 8/100ths, I would write that as 8/100ths, or 8 out of 100. When you're taking percentages to decimals, all percentages are out of 100. Percentages are out of 100. So to take a percent and move it to a decimal, you are going to divide it by 100, which just makes the number smaller by moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So for example, if you have 35%, if I divide that by 100, I end up with 0.35, or 35/100ths. And then last but not least, taking a percentage to a fraction, we already kind of talked about this, that percentages are always out of 100. So you just have a denominator of 100. So I'll use a different example. If I have 80%, that would be equal to 80 out of 100. And then, of course, I could reduce that to 8 out of 10, which could then be reduced a little bit further to 4/5. But either way. Okay, so you're going to use those little pieces there to help you do the back and forth conversions.